Good day to you. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Now, we have been reading in the book of Leviticus. Last time we read Leviticus chapter 19. And that was about forbidding idolatry and various other laws. And now we're ready to read Leviticus chapter 20. Now, I am reading from the Amplified Bible. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Moreover, you shall say to the children of Israel, any Israelite or any stranger residing in Israel who gives any of his children to Molech, the god of the Ammonites, as a human sacrifice, shall most certainly be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. I will also set my face against that man, opposing him, withdrawing my protection from him, and will cut him off from his people, excluding him from the atonement made for them, because he has given some of his children to Molech, so as to defile my sanctuary and profane my holy name. If the people of the land should ever tolerate that man when he gives any of his children as a burnt offering to Molech, and fail to put him to death as my law requires, then I shall set my face against that man and against his extended family, and I will cut off from their people both him and all who follow him in playing the prostitute or commit apostasy with Molech. So one thing to realize here is that there's been, at least I've heard a few people say that this offering of their children to these other gods was not actually human sacrifice, but we know that human sacrifice did occur back in the past. We know this happened with a lot of different cultures, and the fact is that these people, for some reason, had started offering some of their children to these demonic gods, okay? And it was a human sacrifice where they offered their children in fire to these gods, and they had various different ways of doing it, and I don't need to get into all those details. But the fact is that it was wrong for them to kill their children. And it is wrong to kill children. And you can relate this almost directly, exactly to abortion. Because there's no reason that we should ever kill our children. There's no reason to kill our children except for a worship of self. That's why people kill their children, is not because they're worshiping even an idol, but they've made themselves an idol, and they're killing their children because they believe that will benefit their life. So I can relate these things, and I can see how these things relate and go together, and how we can look at this and remember that our children are a precious gift from God, and that it is not for us to destroy them. That's just wrong, and there's no justification for it. So let's move on. As for the person who turns to mediums who consult the dead, or to spiritists to play the prostitute after them, I shall set my face against that person and will cut him off from his people, excluding him from the atonement made for them. You shall consecrate yourselves, therefore, and be holy, for I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my statutes and do them. I am the Lord who sanctifies you. We have already read some verses about how it is wrong to turn to mediums, people who consult the dead, and spiritists, and I've already mentioned why I believe that that is wrong, beside the fact that God says it's wrong, and I understand that. But there's a logical reason for that. If you're not turning to God and you're not looking to God for your advice, who are you getting your advice from? Most likely you're going to get advice from either the world, which is definitely satanically and demonically influenced, or you're going to get your advice and your information straight from what? The dead or spiritists? That means you're basically playing into the same hands, and you're still getting your advice from, or your guidance from, Satan, the devil, and evil spirits. So there's only one true source that we can really look to. And yeah, I'm not excluding like science and things like that, where we can look at medical science and other good things like that, but I'm talking about moral guidance. We're talking about real morality, which really only comes from God. And real immorality really only comes from Satan. So I don't see a lot of gray area when we are playing around with these things. We're really getting into the darkness. And as Christians, we need to make sure we stay out of that darkness and away from that. And so turning to mediums or people who say they can speak to the dead or they speak to spirits, they may actually be speaking to something, but it's not something that you want to interact with. So let's continue on. If anyone curses his father or mother, he shall most certainly be put to death. He has cursed his father or mother. His blood is on him. That is, he bears full responsibility for the consequences. The man who commits adultery with another's wife, even his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall most certainly be put to death. The man who lies intimately with his father's wife has uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall most certainly be put to death. Their blood is on them. If a man lies intimately with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall most certainly be put to death. They have committed incest. Their blood is on them. If a man lies intimately with a male as if he were a woman, both men have committed a detestable, perverse, unnatural act. They shall most certainly be put to death. Their blood is on them. It is immoral and shameful if a man marries a woman and her mother. All three shall be burned in fire, so that there will be no immorality among you. If a man has intimate relations with an animal, he shall most certainly be put to death. You shall kill the animal also. If a woman approaches any animal to mate with it, you shall kill the woman and the animal. They shall most certainly be put to death. Their blood is on them. If a man takes his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, so that he sees her nakedness and she sees his nakedness, it is a disgrace, and they shall be cut off in the sight of the sons of their people. He has uncovered his sister's nakedness. He bears responsibility for his guilt. If a man lies intimately with a woman during her menstrual cycle and uncovers her nakedness, he has exposed her flow, and she has uncovered the flow of her blood. Both of them shall be cut off from their people, excluding them from the atonement made for them. You shall not uncover the nakedness of, or have intimate relations with, your mother's sister or your father's sister. For such a one has uncovered his blood relative. They will bear their guilt. If there is a man who lies intimately with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They will bear their sin. They will die childless. If a man takes his brother's wife, it is a hated and unclean thing. He has uncovered his brother's nakedness. They will be childless. Now here you can relate this up to Jesus' time, where John the Baptist is fussing at Herod because Herod had basically taken his brother's wife. Now it's different from the Israeli tradition or the Jewish tradition that they had in the past, where if your brother died, you would be with his wife to provide children to further his line. That was for a specific purpose in honor of your brother, whereas here we're talking about taking your brother's wife. That's not the same idea. That's in a very, this is in a very immoral way. You're taking your brother's wife. And it's not the same as furthering your brother's line or doing something to honor your brother. While you may say the act is basically the same physically, the intent and the heart behind these two acts are totally different. So, something to be aware of. The intent and the heart is very important. Therefore, keep all my statutes and all my ordinances, and do them so that the land where I am bringing you to live may not vomit you out as it did those before you. You shall not follow the statutes, laws, practices, customs, of the nation which I am driving out before you. For they did all these things, and therefore I have loathed them. But I have said to you, you are to inherit and take possession of their land, and I will give it to you to possess a land of plenty, flowing with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, who has separated you from the peoples, pagan nations. You are therefore to make a distinction between the ceremonially clean animal and the unclean, and between the unclean bird and the clean. And you shall not make yourselves detestable by animal or by bird or by anything that crawls on the ground, which I have set apart from you as unclean. You are to be holy to me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and have set you apart from the peoples, nations, to be mine. A man or woman who is a medium, who pretends to consult the dead, or who is a spiritist, shall most certainly be put to death, and be stoned with stones. Their blood is on them. So here we have some repeated ordinances, and we have punishment for these things that they're told not to do. And notice here at the end what God is saying. God is saying, you are mine, you are my children, you are to be holy to me, for I am holy, and I have set you apart. He doesn't want them following, just like he doesn't want us today, even though we still live here in this world. He wants us to not follow the world and not do the practices of the world, because those are abominable, detestable, perverse practices. That doesn't mean everything in the world and everything in this life is bad and wrong, but we need to recognize that there are things that are perverse and that are based really in lies and based in demonic or satanic ideas, and we need to stay away from those things. We need to make sure that we are acting with integrity and honor and with a right heart. You'll notice so many things come down to our heart and the intent of our heart and what lies behind this action. Why are we taking these actions? A lot of these things that we've mentioned here really relate to lust. And it's not uncommon for people to become attracted to one another and then maybe lust after one another. And we need to make sure that we're not doing that and getting tied up in wrong relations with other family members or even friends, that we shouldn't be having those relations with. So all of this is very, very much a moral basis for life. Some things that we've read through Leviticus are more about health, but some of these things too are very moral in nature, and we need to recognize that. Even today, a lot of these things could easily apply and do easily apply. I don't think it's good for us to chase after other members of our family and their wives. I think that's very wrong. It's a very immoral thing to get involved in. That is the end of Leviticus chapter 20. Now I want you to notice too at the very end that again it says that a medium or a spiritist shall be put to death. That is how harmful these people and those beliefs and those thoughts are. People who say they consult the dead, whether or not they really do, I don't even care. The fact is, if you're looking to consult with someone other than God for guidance and morality, you're looking in the wrong place, and that means you're really going to get something that's perverted and twisted and evil, and the same for spiritists. What spirit are you going to if you're not going to God? God is a spirit. He is the source of everything. If we're not going to Him, if we're not listening to the Lord, if we're not paying attention to the Holy Spirit, then we're listening to the wrong things. And God is really being blunt here and saying we're not to listen to those people. And for them back then, now personally today we are under grace, and I would not suggest that you kill anyone ever. Instead, we should try to talk to them and try to prevent them from continuing down that path. And then also, even if we can't prevent them, we can prevent others. We can warn others about going to these people, because these are not, a lot of them are just charlatans making a buck, okay? Let's be honest. But if any of them are truly real, thinking they're doing something, they're most likely tied up into demonic and satanic spirits, and we don't want to have any interaction with that. We don't want to accept any of that. All right. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless you and keep you safe. And remember, God loves you.